Hey guys, this is Stephanie and I am Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I'm coming to you with day 5 of the Spring to It Videothon. Today's topic is books I read before BookTube. Now, I am not the youngest egg in the fridge here. I actually read a lot of books before BookTube, a lot. Lots of classics. I had read the Harry Potters before, a lot of books. And because I've been reading a long time, I'm gonna be focusing today on a few book series that have been out for a while. Hopefully bring a couple of new book series to people's attention. The first series I read before I was on BookTube was The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Now, this series is like 15 books, I think, long. He tends to do 3-book arcs, so I think it's 15, and he hasn't had a new book out for a while, though I actually don't think I finished the last one. I think I got like halfway through it and I had to take it back to the library, so I need to read it. But this is a fantastic series. It is kind of like modern day contemporary, but still very magical. Follows a wizard named Harry, not that wizard, who lives in Chicago modern day, and he's actually has a ad out in the Yellow Pages that says wizard for hire, not for birthday parties, and I don't do like magic shows and stuff like that. But he is a real wizard. This series is chock full of the supernatural. You have werewolves, you have fae, you have vampires, you have basically anything magical you could think of, they have it in this series. And they talk about it with humor. It's definitely an adult book. It gets kind of dark, but they are so enjoyable. Now, in my opinion, the first one is my least favorite. Like, I feel like it's only like that though because they get better and better and better and better. By the time it got to the last few books, I was just flying through this series. This is a great series if you enjoy a good magical system. The next book I read long before I was on BookTube was Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding this author. I'm just trying to kind of look at his work and not look at his personal beliefs, because if we looked at every author's personal beliefs, we probably wouldn't read a lot of things. But as far as just his ability to write goes, this is a great book. It's a great series. We follow in this a kid who is, I want to say 6, who is sent off to go to battle school. Basically, World War III has already happened and the Earth was invaded by these aliens we call the buggers. And there's another wave coming and we are trying to find our best and brightest. We figured out that if we train kids at a really young age to be soldiers, like military-minded generals and stuff like that, they have the quick reflexes and they are the best for the job. So on Earth, we're looking for the best and the brightest starting at 6 years old, and Ender gets sent up to the school, which is like a space station in and of itself, and that is where they teach them how to be soldiers. And I might have simplified that plot a little bit. Basically, we're really following Ender a bunch in this from his point of view, from a 6-year-old genius's point of view of right and wrong. And it's just a really well-written book. It started out as a short story and then he made a book out of it. Totally worth reading. The whole series is good, but the first book is my favorite. The next book I read long before BookTube would be the Hunger Games trilogy. I read these years ago. My friend Danny was like, you need to read these. So he loaned me the first one, which I had for like a year before I even picked it up. And then I had to get back to him in a week. So I was like, ooh, I better read this. And then I went to the library and got the next 2 because they were that good. If you don't know what this is about, it follows a girl named Katniss who lives in a dystopian futuristic society where they have districts, 13 of them to be exact. And she lives in District 12, which is more of the coal mining district. Basically, the capital takes 2 kids from each district and puts them in an arena and makes them fight to the death. And if you think about that, it's pretty twisted to make children fight and kill one another. And we follow Katniss in this book and her journey. And actually all 3 books you follow her. And it's a good book series as long as you don't think too hard about how disturbing it is. It's a pretty good book series. I also read the Giver Quartet long before BookTube. I don't own any of them. I wasn't crazy about them, which is why I didn't really bother to buy them. I think I liked the first one. The second one was okay. I liked the third one. The fourth one was odd. But I did read those a long time before BookTube. That is also following a dystopian society, which is kind of masked as utopian society, but the more you get into it, the more you realize, hey, this place is super messed up. And we have a kid who basically wants to go outside the society and see what's going on out there and his adventures with that. The next book I read long before BookTube would be The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This book, I read it probably 4 or 5 years ago. A client of mine was like, oh, I read this great book. You should read this book. And I was like, okay. And he loaned it to me. I've talked about this book before. I didn't love it and I didn't hate it. Like, there are aspects of this book that I really liked. But then I had some kind of major problems, like the plot really isn't there. It's actually hard to say a synopsis of this book because it doesn't really follow one like stream of thought or anything. It's really all over the place as far as that goes. Our characters get developed, but not developed to the point that you want them to be. So it just has some problems, but there's a world within a tent in this book and it is beautiful and you just want to go there and experience it, and it is magical and wonderful. I would summarize this book as saying we have two guys that are basically pitting two people against each other. One is actually magical and then the other one is an illusionist. So he practices making things look like magic, but he's not really magic. And they want to see like which one is better. That's basically it. And the last book or books that I read before BookTube is going to be the Outlander series. Now, these are pretty thick books. I've read the first 7 and I'm entirely too lazy to take them off that high shelf and too short. So I just grabbed the one. Basically, this is a series. We follow a woman named Claire Randall who is on a second honeymoon in like 1945, just after World War II, with her husband in Scotland. And she falls through some stones back in time to the mid-1700s. And while she's back there, she's learning very quickly that women have no rights and women have no power. And basically women are property. And that's about it. And it is her journeys through there. She does meet a man named Jamie Fraser, who is a very much overly perfect, trust me, he doesn't exist kind of man. And there is a lot of romance in this book. There's a lot of sex in this book, but there's also a lot of really wonderful historical fiction in this book. And I loved that. It was by far my favorite part of the book, the history, how you just like, you learn so much about everywhere they take you. I mean, it's in Scotland, but not to spoil anything, it's not only in Scotland, over 7 books. They go other places, and I love that. I love they go other places. I love to see other places in the 1700s, and I love the history aspect of this book series. That is what keeps me back. I feel like the sex and the romance is something that I tolerate, but the plot and the characters is what pulls me through. It is hard to recommend this as a book because it has quite a few caveats of, oh, but you don't like this, and oh, you may not like that. But all in all, I have chosen to like this book series even though a lot of people don't like it. And I feel like actually people don't like it because it's a huge book series and that's intimidating. But I'm like, people read Game of Thrones all the time. That is a huge book series, but whatevs. So that is it. I actually have read way more books than that before BookTube, but those are just some of that I'm going to be talking about today. Go ahead and tell me a book that you read that is popular or well-known or whatever that you read before you started watching BookTube or before you started your BookTube channel. I would love to know that as well. Or if you read any of these, tell me about that. If you would like to get involved with us putting a video out every day of the month this month, by all means do so. I will link all the information down below. You can put out a video on the same day we do. You can put out one we've already put out, or you could put out one early if you wanted to. Be sure to let me know because I want to watch those videos. Also, be sure to check out all of my co-hosts linked down below. We have Brews and Reviews, Brooke Clark, Christina's Journey, Danny Buxton, and The Story with Serenity Dawn. Thank you for leaving your comments. I love comments. Don't forget to like and don't forget to subscribe, and I will plan on seeing you guys all tomorrow. Goodbye.